travel, food, lifestyle, and a lot more of life being colorful, unique, and beautiful Sri Lankan traditional wedding dress. The Purwa ceremony, a ceremony for Sri Lankan traditional wedding. The Purwa ceremony, which means beautiful exchange of vows and symbolic gifts, appears to have existed in Sri Lanka before the introduction of Buddhism in the 3rd century BC. Today's Purwa ceremony has been influenced by both up-country and low-country costumes of Sri Lanka. These traditional Kandyan weddings are influenced by the Hindu culture, which gives prominence to Nikat, which refers to the auspicious time. If there is anyone who strongly attracts attention and admiration towards oneself, then it is certainly a Sri Lankan bride. The Kandyan bride in her traditional costume of Usariya, which is sari, and the complementing regalia looks like a queen, and she is certainly the cynosure of all during the wedding ceremony. Unlike a Western bride who would choose the simplest of dresses and the most moderate jewelry, the Kandyan bride opts to be lavish in everything she wears. A grand sari often worked profusely in gold or silver thread, with pearls, stones, beads, and sequins, adding an extra sparkle to the already eye-catching design. A Kandyan bride will certainly be incomplete if she chooses to drop even the smallest piece of jewelry from the traditional ensemble. The bride begins her dressing at an auspicious time, assisted by her mother or female relative who is considered to be lucky. The headgear, or the nalalpata, or the headband, is attractive and significant. It is a gold gem-studded forehead plates traditionally worn by the king and those in his court. The nalalpata was tied to the forehead of a young prince during the ceremony, naming and assuming the royal sword. His name, decided by the astrologer, was inscribed on the headband. A Sinhala wedding thus is a grand ceremony, just like a royal event marking the rites of passage. The Kandyan bride is distinctive from the rest, and only she has the privilege of wearing a nalalpata on her wedding day. The nalalpata placed by the mother on the middle of the forehead at the auspicious time, with one stem extending down the middle parting of the hair, and another 2 branches extending across the forehead up to the ear, and then the sun and moon ornaments are placed on the right and left respectively on the head. Traditionally, the nalalpata was a rich piece of jewelry embedded in red stones. But today, it has many forms and is often left to the imagination of the craftsman. The bride's neck is one whole mass of chains. Padakam, or the pendants, are the important parts of the chains. Starting from the nalalpata pendant, each successive chain shows off beautiful pendants with typical Sinhala designs. A touch of local flavors is visible in these chains. The Piti Malaya is the last and longest chain encircling the rest. Piti Malaya means a garland of flowers or petals. In India, it stood for the real flowers, which played an important role in Indian festal dress. The design of the pendants may vary. Some may choose a flower, others animals. The swan or the hansa is famous bird design used. The hansa putua, or 2, 3 or more swans with entwined necks, is featured in the many works of arts in Sri Lanka. In India, the swan is regarded as a sacred goose. The use of the swan design for pendants is significant and symbolic. The swan stands for purity, beauty, and is auspicious. Gasti Malaya is a chain made of agate. Some chains have seed placed at intervals along the chain. Gidi Walalu, or the bangle of fruits, is made up of various local seeds strung on a wire. These in the pieces of jewelry that the goldsmith has utilized local material. Siri Walatu is a broad bangle with 3 similar bangles joined together. The earrings, of course, clearly indicate their Indian origin. These earrings are known as dimity, with the shape of an overturned cup. Earrings are enhanced with tiny pearls dangling from the dimity. The two ear studs from which the dimity flow are studded with odd numbers of stones. Sri Lankans are extremely superstitious when it comes to numbers. Hence, any piece of bridal jewelry, or for that matter, any jewelry is not made with even numbered of stones. Odd numbers are always considered lucky. The number 7 is considered a magical number in Sri Lankan tradition. From food to jewelry, number 7 crops up in every Sri Lankan Sinhala event. Thus, the Kandyan bridal jewelry also consists of 7 pendants. For the men, the Kandyan Nilami attire. Nilami attire was reserved for the most upper-class tradition in Sri Lanka families and was made in silk or chic textiles with embedded jewels and extensive embroidery work. Each color describes the wearer's designation of work and the status in the society. In the ancient Sri Lanka, only the kings and his immediate family members had the privilege of wearing elegant clothing. The king's ministers and the other officials also had uniforms reflecting their designation and the status in the society. But the clothes they wore looks much less exclusive and more ordinary than the attire used by the royal family. The royal attire was specially made by tailors who came down from the South India, and they kept the art of making these distinctive clothing styles a secret. However, these Indian tailors used Sri Lankan help, and with time, Sri Lankan helpers captured the art to a certain extent and later started to sew the designs themselves. In the 18th century, with the downfall of the Kandy kingdom, the Nilami attire was mostly replaced by Western suits due to British colonial influence. Yet, the high-class Sri Lankan families occasionally wore them at special occasions such as wedding and cultural events as a symbol of family status. The attire was then reserved only for Kandyan families who kept the right of wearing Nilami attire to them. Colorful, unique, beautiful, that's all I can say about the Sri Lankan traditional wedding dresses.